I'm Liz. I'm here with the Coalition to Abolish Death by Incarceration. We're day 4 of our week-long caravan across Pennsylvania to educate the community and build our movement against death by incarceration, which in Pennsylvania is mandatory life without parole sentence. There's over 5,000 people serving these sentences, and we just want to build our movement and bring our people home. They're people who have been redeemed, they're rehabilitated, and we want them back in our community. And as it stands now, there's extremely limited pathways home in Pennsylvania. One's through commutation, barely anybody receives that, and the other's through compassionate release. You have to be with a terminal illness, less than 1 year to live, and we want to see people come home before they're on their deathbed and contribute positively to the community. Welcome everybody tonight to the NEPA stop of the Cabby Caravan. We're so happy to be here. Go Cabby, power up. And thank you, Brian and the UU, for hosting us here tonight. We're very grateful for your hospitality. I'm Liz. I'm part of the Cabby Caravan, and I'm also local in this community. And so I'm really excited for this event to be here tonight and to just connect with people who care about the issue of DBI. So yeah, we're happy to be here tonight. There's some other local groups who are tabled here tonight as well. Eileen has a table set up in the back for Cypress House, which is a bakery project that's getting started to hire formerly incarcerated people. And Frankie is floating around with some information about some other happenings in Lackawanna, including a small group that we have that advocates against the local county jail. So I just wanted to thank them for being here tonight as well. And so with that being said, I want to introduce Dana and Janiece to talk a little bit about what Cabby is and what we're doing here on our week-long caravan.
On a Wednesday evening, y'all thought it not robbery. Some of y'all have to work tomorrow, go to school tomorrow, whatever you have to do, right? You thought it not robbery, so we want to thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, my name is Dana Lomax-Ayler. I have 27 years on and off of incarceration. I'm now the president of Chester Cabby. We have different chapters. We're all in solidarity, right? So chapters, Cabby stands for Coalition to Abolish Death by Incarceration. Somebody say, what that mean? What that mean? You ask some good questions, baby. What it means is we fight against the injustices in the judicial, the penal, and the prison system on a legislative level. Okay, lobbying, we do a whole lot. Peaceful protest, a whole lot. And we're here, and we've been traveling around. We've been a lot of places, you guys, right? We've been a lot of places. We've been to Pittsburgh. We've been to Erie. We've been to now Scranton, right? Wilkesboro. Tomorrow we'll be in Lancaster. Friday we'll be back in Chester. And then we'll close it off, the bombcloseoff.com in Philly. And that'll be on Saturday. So if you want to participate in any of them, right here, you can track, you can follow us, take a picture and follow us. You might want to show up, and that'll be wonderful. So we're here because we want to bring awareness in each state that we're in about Cabby. A lot of people don't know that there's support systems out there to help you navigate through the challenges that you go through. There's support out here. Why? A lot of people are afraid because there's the stigma. Oh, she's been in prison. I'm so happy that they have, and they are creating opportunities for people like us. We are the evidence, as you will see with the speakers. We the evidence of what second chances and a fresh start looks like. Look around, you'll see some of the posters. We are the evidence. Not only do we have shared experience, right, but we have others who are out here with their boots on the ground fighting hard. There's a lot of horrific things that's going on behind the walls. Some of y'all are familiar with it, some of you aren't, right? But if you're not, please get familiar with it. You might say, what can I say? What can I do? There's more people than say, ask, what can you do? Y'all ask some great questions. You're going to find out what you could do before we leave here today, because there's a lot you could do. Everybody have different skill sets. It might be writing a letter. A lot of people will love mail. It could be making a phone call, reminding somebody about the meeting, about the chapter that y'all might be starting here. It could be anything, right? So I'm going to say this. Find out what you can do. And please, I'm a firm believer, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. hello, somebody. I'm going to give it over to Janiece, and she's going to tell y'all about her shared experience and why she's here with Kari today. Give it up for Janiece, y'all.
Hello. So I decided to join Kari because I have an uncle who's serving a life sentence right now. And I was directly impacted because his 2 children were killed while he was incarcerated. So being able to witness the fact that he wasn't able to attend them services and be there whenever, me and my cousin go out, go shopping, doing stuff together, it kind of hit hard, to know that he wasn't able to participate. I feel like he deserved a second chance, and to know that he wasn't able to bury his children because he's in jail doing life, I feel like everybody deserves a second chance at trying to live.
So I want to introduce some people that are living here in our community, and one of those people that are directly impacted by incarceration. And so one of those people is Caine. Caine came home within this last year, spent some time in the state prison system, and he's living in our community, working. He's a personal trainer. He's fighting DBI, the use of solitary confinement. He's still fighting for the people he left behind. And so, help me welcome Caine to just talk about his experience.
Hi, again, my name is Caine Pelzer. I've been incarcerated since I was 18 years old. My story is just like everybody else's story. Tried to do good as a kid. I was a scholar, athlete. Scholar, athlete. Had scholarships to Albany State University. Honored those scholarships, came to Pennsylvania. One case changed my life, turned it upside down. It was a fight. Nobody got hurt, nobody got shot. Nobody got killed, nobody got robbed. It was just somebody saying, Caine did this. It was a fight, simple. I had one of the strongest judges, the hardest judges, won't mention his name because he's retired now, but he decided, let's give Caine 50 years because he didn't tell who the other 3 people that was in the fight were. So I got the 50 years. And my conviction was I did nothing but had a fight. We were juveniles. And for the next 25 years, I spent incarcerated. My resistance to the system was to speak out, was to litigate, was to educate, was to uplift everybody in the vicinity to the next level, because I felt as though I did not deserve that. And I felt as though the treatment that we were going through was undeserved. So the Department of Corrections decided to throw me in solitary confinement for the next 17 years. No write-ups, no reports against me. And every time I asked them why, they just said, you're a threat to the system. They never said how. They never produced any evidence. So it took 17 years and the courts didn't care. They said it wasn't significant in the typical, meaning the hardship wasn't enough at that point in time. So I'm with all of the brothers, the Maroons, the Chatawayos, the Norm Johnsons, everybody. I am with them on restricted release, sitting there languishing and put in circumstances where they want you to kill yourself. So my position was, okay, we have to find a way to fight. And I fought, and I continued to fight. And I showed everybody around me how to fight. So they moved me to 19 jails in the state system. There's only 25 jails. I couldn't go to those minimum jails. So because I was helping, I became the bigger threat, right? Because I learned how to educate myself, because I was reaching out to organizations like CABD, I'm a part of the Human Rights Coalition, because I was with those brothers at the outset when it started in solitary confinement. So I felt as though my position is I need to continue this while I'm out. Solitary confinement was ended for me through the federal courts. I filed a lawsuit pro se, and the court said enough is enough. The Department of Corrections never admitted what they did. The Department of Corrections never did anything to correct me or help me transitioning back to population, let alone society. But with that, I continued to fight my own sentence and overturned the 50-year sentence, pro se, by teaching myself the law. So this is what the men in there who are deserving of a second chance look like. They look like me. This is their story, and I'm giving it to you because what happened to me happened to everybody, right? It's undeserving of the sentences that are being given out. We need to continue to push to the legislative branch, judicial branch, and the executive branch. We need to get on the grounds and do whatever we could, wherever we can fit in to say, hey, how could we help this cause? This is wrong, right? And we're here, right? If anybody personally needs directive or directions, I'm here. I'm accessible to everybody that's here. And I really appreciate the families, the friends, everybody that has shown up, because this is what we pray for while we're locked up, that somebody is out here fighting. And they don't know how to all fight, but they're trying something. So if we all try, we're going to get there. Like Dana said, do something, do anything. Ask a question. So my story is not finished because I'm out. My job is to continue to try to get everybody else out. Those brothers that I walk the yards with, they are some of the most honorable men that I've ran into. They developed me into what I am, and thousands of others that the DA doesn't talk about, that the governor doesn't talk about, Commutation doesn't talk about. And this is the story that we need to get out. So not to get too long-winded, that's who I am. I appreciate all of you. And if anything I can do to help, please ask. Thank you.
Yeah, and I didn't want to spoil Caine's story, but I know I'm so impressed with the self-motivation and self-determination and the legal work that he did on behalf of himself and never stopped educating himself and fighting for his freedom. And now here he is fighting for other people's freedom, and so is everybody in this room. We all showed up for some interest in fighting for freedom and helping incarcerated people. And so I personally, and I hope everybody in this room feels that our community in Dallas, Pennsylvania, Northeast PA is a better place with Caine in it, right? And so thank you and welcome home. And so with that, I want to introduce Kari. So Kari is part of a few coalitions. She's part of CADB, and she's also part of Free Our People Coalition. Her son is serving a life sentence, and she lives here in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and is going to share with you a little bit about what that looks like as the mother of somebody whose son has been sentenced to never come home. So welcome, Kari, please. Thank you.
As Liz said, I have a son who is serving a life sentence for first-degree murder. He's been in prison for 22 years. Now we're throwing around phrases like DBI, death by incarceration. What does that mean? In the state of Pennsylvania, if you are convicted of either first or second-degree murder, it's a mandatory life without parole sentence, which means you have no chance of seeking parole. And one of the things that we're working with, of course, as a mother, I want to see my son home. And there's a lot of people that want the same thing. It was very hard to see him convicted. He actually pleaded guilty but mentally ill because he was facing the death sentence. So to avoid that, he pleaded to first-degree murder because the DA would not accept anything less. So at the age of 20, he went into the prison system. He's been in, as I said, 22 years. One of the things that we fight for is second chances. Are you the same person that you were 20 years ago? Have your views changed at all? Has your attitude changed at all? My son became what's called a certified peer specialist, which is someone who speaks to other inmates that don't necessarily need psychiatric help, and he worked with the psychiatry department, but they may need just somebody to talk to. He was down in Camp Hill, which is where when you're first sentenced, that's one of the intake places you go to. You know, imagine you're a 20-year-old kid and you're thrown into this prison system and you don't know what to expect. So he would go and he would talk to them, he would listen to them, and he would tell them, you're not a bad person. You made a bad decision, which is what, I mean, you know, have you ever made a bad decision? I know I've made plenty, and fortunately I don't have to serve a sentence for that. He has done a lot to better himself. While he was a CPS, he led classes in PTSD, anger management. He would work with guys that needed to get their GED, and things like that. And then he moved from Camp Hill up to Retreat, which was ideal because it was 10 minutes from my house. And he requested to move there because my husband has a lot of health issues. While he was there, he was helping guys that were getting ready to be released. He would work with the people on the outside, the social workers, the parole board, everything to make sure that everything was in place before someone got out of prison. I can't even imagine what that would have been like for him. You know, helping someone that's getting out knowing that you will never have that chance. It kind of broke my heart. And then after he was at Retreat for a month, they announced that they were closing it. So he moved down to Mahanoy, which is down 81, about 45 minutes from here. So we still see him on a regular basis. We try to go down twice a month to visit him. When he was first incarcerated down in Cole Township, which is a little bit farther than that, about an hour and 15 minutes away, we would go every week to visit him. And while we were there was a husband and wife that would drive down from Erie, so you all can imagine this, every week they were down there visiting their son. And there are so many that are incarcerated right now that don't have anybody coming down to visit him. My son is very lucky. He has family that's willing to go down and visit him. My mother, up until the time she died at age 96, would go visit him. You know, she'd go maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But, you know, that was important to him, to have the family gather around him and know that he had that support system. There's so many that are in there that don't have any support. And we're fighting for them as well as for my son and for people like Caine. We're fighting for everyone. And, you know, I plan on, if he ever gets, I don't like to say if he gets out, I like to say when he gets out. I will continue to fight. One of the things that I like to do is, as Liz pointed out, I'm part of many groups, not only CADB, and I'd like to say that we would like to get a group started in NEPA. So far, we haven't gotten a lot of support with that, you know, not a lot of interest in it, but if you're interested, we want to get something started, even if it's only 2 or 3 people to work on this. We try to have a rally in Harrisburg at least once a year where we go down. We spend time talking with legislators. You know, a lot of them don't know that if you're sentenced to first or second, that it's life without parole. They think, oh, well, they're going to get out in 25 years. Or they think you can have commutation, which those of us that have been doing this know is not very successful. And some of the people here can address that more. The number of people that have gone for commutation and the number that have been actually approved for it is, you know, the numbers are just ridiculous. But I would like to encourage everyone, well, anyway, lost my train of thought. One of the groups I'm with is Free Our People, and we work with CADB. We do legislative visits, and what that means is I will have Zoom visits. I actually had 2 this week, and Lizz, anytime you want to put me on, I'll do them 5 days a week if you want me to. I love doing it, talking to the legislators. Some of them are on board with us, and we're just trying to encourage them to speak with their fellow legislators and, help push some of these bills through. Some of them are not so receptive, and I had one of them yesterday. So just trying to educate the lawmakers on the importance of these bills and how unfair our sentencing practices are. I just want to close with a couple of statistics. Pennsylvania is one of 7 states that has a life without parole sentence. 7 states out of 50. That's a mandatory life without parole. Other states do have life without parole, but it's up to the judge to make that choice. We are number 2, one of only 2 that have life without parole for second degree. So, do we want to be at the bottom of the states, or do we want to be like up there, maybe not the top one, but among the top states that are willing to listen and give people a second chance? And by the way, we're second only to Florida in death by incarceration. If anybody's interested, my son is an artist. The paintings back there that are not framed are some of his, and there's a book with his also.
Something that Kari had said that a lot of family members of people serving DBI sentences say is that when their loved one comes home, they're not going to give up the fight, because through this work, we've all met so many people through our loved ones, through our friends, family that are serving these life sentences, through movement magazines, like Daughters, the movement. We've heard the voices of people serving DBI. So many people who have a family member serving these sentences aren't going to stop when their loved one comes home. And we've seen that. There's some people, Mama Pat's loved one came home. She's still in this fight with us. And so, we're never going to give up, because we know everybody, most of these people are really good people and have so much, could add so much value to our lives and our communities. And we want to see them come home, because we would be a better place with them out here and not behind the walls. And Kari, she fights tirelessly, especially on a legislative front. And I know sometimes we live in a small community. There aren't a lot of people to fight the good fight, right? There's a lot of issues out there that we all kind of spread ourselves across. And so, like Kari said, me and her are deeply involved. And if anybody else is interested in getting involved, let us know. We're here and we're not going anywhere. Yeah. So as far as the artwork, Kari mentioned her son Jay's artwork. Please check it out. He's a phenomenal artist. And then Dana has also, who introduced CABI, has all of these poster boards with pictures of all of the activities us here in the movement get involved with, whether it's Harrisburg, this new caravan that we're doing. This is our first time. Hopefully this is an annual event, because we're having a blast. And I also wanted to hand the microphone off to Cynthia to talk a little bit about these paintings that are lined up here. And I encourage anybody who hasn't taken a look at them to take a look before you head out tonight, because they are extremely powerful and they speak volumes through art. So
what we have over here along the chairs, starting down here, these are 6 paintings done by Mr. Keith Andrews, who is in SCI Phoenix. And what they do is show you in pictures what it means to be sentenced to life without parole, which he was. And also at the age of 20, my brother was sentenced to life without parole. And with the pictures are words of my brothers to describe what he's felt over the last decades. He's been in prison for 42 years. He did not kill anyone. He did not kill anyone. But he was sentenced to life without parole because that's the law. I think it's called the felony law. If a murder is committed in the commission of another crime, it's legal for the state to convict you of second-degree murder and life without parole. Mr. Andrews, don't know if I said it or not, he's serving life without parole also. He's been incarcerated for 26 and a half years. This is his information on here. There's a picture of him, and that is him in the pictures. He painted himself. So, if you would like to come up, before we leave and take a look at them. It's not easy to see, but this is what we're talking about.
I've heard the term second degree a couple of times. How many people know what second degree is? How many people don't know what second degree is?
Second degree murder is also known as felony murder. And so in most cases of felony murder or second degree, either a life, the individual didn't intend to take a life or didn't take a life at all. And so the difference between first and second is a matter of intent. And in many cases of people we know serving for second degree, the charge could be a getaway driver, an accomplice, but the defining factor is that a felony was being committed at the time that somebody lost their life. And so it could also include something like, you are with your friends and you rob a convenience store and the convenience store clerk has a heart attack and dies. You could have been a getaway driver and not even have known that somebody had a weapon on them or something. So I think it's really important in Pennsylvania because with both a matter of the intention to take a life and lacking intention to take a life, it's still the same sentence, a mandatory life without parole. And I think that's important information. And I also know that there's people who did intend to take a life in some instances, and our group and is passionate about bringing those people home as well. Because like Kari was sharing, we're not the same people we were in the past when we made a bad choice. And so it is an important to distinguish the two as far as the law is concerned or legislation that we're passing. But as far as deserving of a second chance or having been rehabilitated, we don't necessarily see a difference as far as who the individual is. And so we see changed people. And so, with that, and we'll have some times for some questions and chatting and whatnot after we show a short 15-minute documentary. This is called The Man Who Came Home, and it's about Francisco Mojico. Anybody who got to check out the table behind us all, there's some information about a process called commutation. And so it's like a broken system in Pennsylvania, and but it is one of a very limited pathway home for people serving these DBI sentences. And it's not granted to very many people, but Francisco was lucky enough, and we're lucky enough to welcome him home, within the past few years. And so this just highlights his life. It's, again, very short, but it gives a little brief understanding of commutation and the man that Francisco is today, the man who has come home into his community and is caring for his sick wife who waited for him through a DBI sentence when the law said that he was never coming home. So thanks so much for taking the time to watch that and to come here tonight. So I just wanted to ask, the people who aren't with the caravan, Are there people here from the community who have a loved one who are incarcerated or have been incarcerated or even more serving like a DBI sentence? Yeah, so I see a couple hands up, and I know some people's circumstances that they maybe left some lifers behind while they were incarcerated with them, others whose loved one are serving a life sentence and they're in this community fighting for them. And so, I think a common misconception with small towns like ours is that this issue doesn't impact us. And not only are people missing from our community, but there's also people who are incarcerated in our community. There's a state prison right down the street, 15 minutes away, SCI Dallas, and there's a number of people serving life sentences there. And I definitely encourage people, there's a handout we put together back there, just sort of like the profile of prisons in Northeast PA, and they purposefully put them in rural areas like ours to remove people from like society and have them be forgotten about. And so there's 6 state prisons within a 50-mile radius of Dallas, Pennsylvania. And I want to say almost 2,000 people serving life sentences within those 6 prisons within a 50-mile radius. Yeah, and I know Brenda's been fighting alongside us for her friend that's incarcerated for many years. And, there's not just this mandatory life without parole sentence. There's virtual life sentence, which means you're never walking out. Like it's not, there's maybe a hypothetical end date on your sentence, but it's not in the lifespan of any human being. And so, I just wanted to maybe open it up for some conversation and see if that film like provoked any thoughts or feelings from anybody here tonight. And thank you so much, Brenda. Like I know you've been fighting tirelessly for your friend and helping him write a book and get his story out there. And so, yeah. I also just want to mention too, like Francisco, I was at a wedding maybe like a month ago for somebody who has come home from a life sentence, and we were both guests at the wedding, and we were standing in line waiting for some food, and I asked his permission to share the documentary tonight. I said we have an event going on in like Northeast PA, can we share? And he said he wants everybody in the world to be able to watch that documentary. And so I say that to tell you that the documentary is 15 minutes long. It's online. I can send you the link and share it with you. And I encourage everybody to share that short film with your loved ones. I mean, 15 minutes isn't a lot of anybody's time. And so, he's a sweet man and wants everybody to hear part of his story and share that. So please take the time to do that. But yeah, did anybody have any questions about the commutation process that was mentioned? I know a lot of the legal stuff can be very confusing. How do you get commutation? I think well, it sucks. It's a sucky process, but I can have our commutation expert answer the question about commutation.
I'm Etta. I live in Pittsburgh. The commutation process is about a 6-year process, and you have to the first step is you have to fill out an application, which is actually online now. You can't submit it online, but you can get a fillable PDF and fill it out. We actually have a commutation support kit that you can get in the back. You fill out the application. Then about 2 or 3 years later, the prison will staff you, which means that you get sort of interviewed by a board of the prison. They hook you up with psychiatrists, different interviews, and then they vote on whether the prison thinks you should, if they support you. Many of the people who come up for commutation do get that prison support. Then there's another interview you have to do with the head of all of the prisons. A lot of people get denied at that stage, even though the prison has supported them. Then after that, regardless of those two, whether the prison supports you or not, you have a merit review, which is where the Board of Pardons, which is a 5-person board, decides whether your case has enough merit to get a public hearing. So if you get 3 out of 5 votes from the board, then, so they don't even have to meet you, they just read your application and decide whether they think your case has enough merit. Most of the people get turned down at that stage. If you are one of the very lucky few who makes it past that stage, then you get a public hearing. I think there was like 20 people got a public hearing this year. And then you have to get 5 out of 5 votes, which 20 is a very low number of people to have a hearing for like the number of applications that there are in the system. So after, there was public hearings 2 weeks ago and 1 person out of 12 people made it. I actually thought 10 people were gonna make it, and I never think that. I never think like that many people are gonna make it. But it was most of the applicants were senior citizens. They had all done like 30 or 40 years. They had all have institution support. They had no public victim opposition. And there's no written reason for denial, so you never know why they deny you. But that whole process now takes about 6 years. The lieutenant governor is on the Board of Pardons. Right. So he's the chair of the Board of Pardons. Austin Davis. And I will tell you that he voted no a lot 2 weeks ago, which was a surprise. And so did Marsha Grayson, who's the victim's advocate, who I actually think is one of the most fair people on the board, which would be like counterintuitive because you would think the victim's advocate would be the least favorable person, but she's actually the most fair from my perspective. Let's Get Free is the organization that I'm a part of, and we record all of the hearings. So if you want to watch the commutation hearings, which I do think is really educational, it's like our governmental clemency process, and you can go to our YouTube channel and just watch them. They're very upsetting. They're very traumatic. Like just the whole process itself is like, it's not healthy. There's nothing healthy about it.
Talking about how traumatizing this whole situation is. I failed to mention my brother's name, but I've been talking about him now for 3 or 4 days in a row, and it's emotional. His name is Vincent. And, excuse me, 2 years ago, I think it's been now, he went up for commutation and was denied. And he's a model prisoner. Model prisoner. No opposition, no write-ups in over 2 decades, never served any time in the hole. He was the personal chef for every warden he's been in their prison. They trust him. They call him Mr. Hart. So I was devastated that he didn't get commutation. But he's not alone. It happens over and over again. And like I said, last week, I think it was, they denied 12 people the same way. So we got to do better. We got to find a way.
My name is Cedar Anakovna, here by way of New Orleans. I am a person who is a formerly incarcerated, wrongfully convicted person who received a very long sentence for a crime I did not commit, and who has also lost my dearly beloved in a hate crime, and have gone through a process of forgiveness and processing and being very vengeful and wanting the people who perpetuated that crime to suffer, and then also going through a process of remediation and learning that how can another human being demonstrate contrition if they are sequestered away and forgotten about? How can you demonstrate that you're sorry if no one can see you, you know? And so realizing that the young men who murdered my husband in a hate crime, who did not even know his name, but killed him just for the fact he was a Native American and looked different, I want them to have children, and I want them to live a very long and happy life. and I want them to teach their children how to be righteous young men. And that, to me, demonstrates contrition. And so then today, just briefly to share with you, the waitress at our table this morning asked who we were, and I said, well, we're CADB. We're the Coalition to Abolish Death by Incarceration. And she said, well, I have someone who, my baby daddy, he's serving life right now. But you know what? He did what he did. And I said, well, I mean, everyone deserves a second chance, and sometimes a third and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh chance, and we should never give up on another human being, because everyone has the propensity to change at some point. They have epiphany or some kind of transformation, and I mean, it can happen at any time, even after your third and fourth and fifth chance, you know? And I responded to that naturally when before, you know, being part of this whole, you know, tour, I really didn't have a response to that, you know, and sharing that with you, I hope that you also might develop a response, kind of immediate response when you're posed with that question. Why are you fighting for people that are incarcerated? You're fighting for someone who took someone's life, you know, basically, and that might make you feel a little ashamed at first, maybe, but then at the same time, as a response to that, like naturally just thinking about the worst thing that you've done, and you're still here, and you're still out and free, and how many people that are incarcerated, you know, have somebody like you. There are so many people up there who don't have a vocal advocate, you know, that is wanting them, like the girl who said her baby daddy, you know, he did what he did. Like, how many people are incarcerated that don't have somebody to speak up and fight for them? And so that's just something I want everyone here to think about. And if we're able to spread our passion to the next person and just see that duplicated and duplicated.
You know, I think you brought up something that's really important, and we hear a lot of like opponents to our movement, especially lawmakers who have the ability to allow people they can change the laws and allow people the opportunities to come home. We hear a lot of times from them like, well, what about the victim? And our movement doesn't discount the victim's experience or the pain that they've caused, right? Dana's phone. You know, there's a lot of studies that have been done, and not enough studies, but there are studies that have been done that, you know, they ask the victim what to them is sufficient, like, punishment for the crime, or what does healing look like to them. And in most instances, an overwhelming amount of victims respond to these types of like surveys and inquiries that extreme sentences don't like contribute to their healing process. They don't. That's not like what allows them to forgive the person who's harmed their loved one or taken somebody from their family or community. And so we know that extreme sentences don't deter crime or harm to a community, and they also aren't necessarily what most or every victim is like seeing that heals their pain. And a lot of people in our movement are dual victims. They have lost a loved one to violence, and they've lost a loved one to mass incarceration. And so they can speak from both sides of that aisle and see the value in offering a second opportunity to do good to their family, their community, and their life.
I just wanted to add that one of the oppositions we get from people is, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's not just all emotional. When I talk to lawmakers, depending on who I'm talking to, a lot of them will push back. And one of the things we bring up is that it costs $66,000 per year to incarcerate one individual. Once they're over the age of 50, it jumps up to 216,000. And when you think about the number of people that we have incarcerated that are over 50 years old because of health conditions that come about a lot of times because of the nutrition that they are not getting in the prison system, just generally aging. And for every year that you are in prison, you age 2 years. So if you've been in there for 10, 20, 30 years, that's 20, 40, or 60 years that you've actually aged within the prison system.
For the past 4 years, I've been through so much. Thanks to Lizz, Frankie. I was protesting for my son, who was also wrongfully accused on a few things. It's devastated. And one thing I'm gonna say is, excuse my French or whatever, how I feel, respect to law enforcement. Not every law enforcement some law enforcements are criminals because they don't be held accountable, and prosecutors, they don't be held accountable. They get away with these things. My son went to trial and he was acquitted, thanks God. We fought so hard. I didn't stop. I will protest, ask Lizz, Frankie. I continue. I lost my home, lost my cars. I was donating blood to eat. I went through it. And one thing I told my son, don't you, by any means, I don't care what threats they send, do not take any charge you did not commit. Trial is very scary, but right is right, and God was with us. I just want to say that my heart goes out to the people that are being wrongfully accused, for the people that, I don't even believe on the death penalty. I believe that people should get a second chance. I'm trying to work on my organization on numerous of things. I just want to help the world. This is not just going on in Pennsylvania. This is going across the world. And no one cares. These people, some people get lost in the system that don't have no family, and we don't know nothing about them. They're getting murdered. There's so much going on. And thanks for having me. I just wanted to share a little bit about my son. His name is James Rodriguez, and he's been at the Lackawanna for 4 years. And hopefully I'll be with him soon. But, they try to put extra, like even if you was acquitted, they'll still try to convict you for something you was acquitted. It's just like a non-stop, ongoing thing I've been going through. It's like they don't let go, They just want to keep going, But anyways, thanks for listening to my story. I love you guys, each and one of you, because my heart goes out to each and one of you for what you're going through. It's very hard and overwhelming.
The majority of them, just like with Zane, they lost their family. I mean, his family, I'm not his blood, but I'm the only person he has. He has no one. His family just
Forgot about it.
yeah, I guess that's the polite word.
Yeah.
And I mean, and just recently his aunt, who was a good friend of mine, I met him through her in 1992 when I was stationed at Fort Indiantown Gap. She just left him. So he has no blood family. So anybody here, oh my God, please, thank you for keep holding on. Hold on for them, because we're their lifeline. We really are their lifeline.
Hi, I'm Misha. I'm from Pittsburgh. I do have some folks in the system But I wanted to speak to what Brenda was saying. There are so many people inside who don't really have anybody left on the outside. They've been forgotten or their family's unable to come through for whatever reason. And Let's Get Free and CADB can connect you to people. We have a visiting program where we can help you like visit people physically. There's also, since the pandemic, Zoom visits. We also have time where we get together and write to people every Wednesday morning over Zoom. And you can also do it on your own. We can set you up to do that. And it's really a huge thing. People are and feel forgotten. And every one of those folks, regardless of what they did or did not do, they deserve to be treated like a human and have real meaningful connection. And that's something that each of us can do. So I just wanted, if you feel free to chat with me or anyone to get involved with that.
I first got involved with doing this work 3.5 years ago now. Folks at the Abolitionist Law Center, along with NEPA Stands Up, had started to wanted to expand a program that had done great work in Allegheny County for limiting the use of solitary confinement. We localized it and we brought it here in Lackawanna County. That's how I met Brenda. And over the course of 7 weeks, we collected 13,565 or odd so signatures from registered voters throughout the county in order to get a ballot initiative put onto the ballot. Long story short, they refused to put it on the ballot from the advice of a solicitor. The commissioners decided that it, wasn't valid to appear. And since then, that campaign has come and gone. But Lizz and I have, for the last several years, been part of a group called colloquially the Lackawanna County Prisoner Advocates. Not an official organization or anything. We meet once a month. We continue to attend prison board meetings every month to push back. And, we don't get what we want, but after 3 years of fighting, we were able to get them to at least review the policy that they have for solitary confinement. There was an audit, and we necessarily didn't get what we wanted out of there. But from the actions that we took, our understanding is that by elevating this policy, the day that the commissioner had given a speech about the review of the policy, someone who had been in a prolonged sentence in Lackawanna County Prison for prolonged solitary sentence was removed from solitary later that evening. So, it's not the systemic change that we were looking for, right? But it shows that even with persistent work and doing the work that, even making the difference for a single person's life, it could be a huge deal. So, we continue to show up every month. We meet, and it's where we met Michelle. Eileen's a part of it with us. So for the last several years, we've continued to push back against the county. And over the course of those years, you could see the change in how. Because when we first started going, it was totally different commissioners. None of the commissioners were the same. We've been doing it since before the commissioners that are in there now had gotten into it. So the dedication that we show allows for us to actually make some sort of demands from our commissioners because they know that we've been involved for this work for so long. So just wanted to share some of my experience surrounding organizing around this work locally. So thank you everyone for coming.
And we're pretty loud for our small and mighty group. Yeah, so I guess with that, I do want to close up. I want to just sort of, we had a couple action items that we talked about, ways to get involved that we kind of spread out throughout tonight's program. So for some piece of action that you can take tonight is there's postcards in the back. Some are made out to Governor Shapiro and some are made out to members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And so that they're postcards to encourage change in the commutation process. One is to get Governor Shapiro to get that process moving. It's really behind. Reviews don't happen often enough and not enough people make it through. And the other one is the so-called medical and psychology professional is up for reappointment, and Senate Judiciary has the ability to decide who they appoint to the board, and he is not qualified to be on the board. And so the second one goes to Senate Judiciary to demand that they hire somebody else. And so Kari mentioned legislative advocacy. One reason we stopped here in this community tonight is because there's some like heavy hitting legislators in our area. Senator Lisa Baker, we're in her district right now, and she's the chair of Judiciary Committee in the Senate. And so for any bill to move, for any legislation that would change sentencing laws in Pennsylvania to move, they have to go through the House Judiciary Committee, the whole House floor, Senate Judiciary Committee, and the whole Senate floor. And so the chair people of Judiciary have the ability to decide what those committees hear. Lisa Baker will not allow the Senate Judiciary Committee to hear the legislation that would offer opportunities and pathways home. And so that's one of the reasons we came to Northeast PA, because we have to, as constituents, apply pressure to these legislators that we in your district want to see people have the ability to come home from prison, and that we see through people like Caine who presented tonight. It makes us stronger as a community, and we want them home and we want them in our community, and we'll welcome them and help them get on their feet and help them figure out their resources. And so Misha also mentioned pen paling, letter writing. I spoke to somebody who pen pals here tonight. And so it was, a really impactful experience for that person who has a pen pal that just got denied commutation. And so, I've met good friends. I met, Sylvia Boykin, Let Grandma Go. She is somebody I met through the Operation Break Bread program probably like 5 years ago. And she's one of the sweetest human beings you'll ever meet. And so also join our movement. It's the PA Supreme Court. 3 of the more liberal justices are up for election reappointment, and so vote yes for them. We have a case in the PA Supreme Court right now, the case of Derek Lee, where the basis of that case is that mandatory life without parole for second degree is unconstitutional. And so if they haven't issued a ruling, and so if the PA Supreme Court flips, it's not only going to affect the Derek Lee case, it's going to affect a lot more in Pennsylvania. And so if you literally only go out to vote for that, great, awesome, do it. There's a few ways to get involved, and we have Zoom meetings for CABI and for Let's Get Free and for Free Our People Coalition, and so there's a lot of ways to plug in. We're all here. Ask us any questions you want.
So my name is Shabaka. I'm a juvenile lifer. I got out about 3 years ago, and I did 50 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days. I've been working with several organizations since I got out. Let's Get Free, CABD, Abolitionist Law Center, PEN, Pennsylvania Interfaith Impact Network, and several others, straight ahead, several others. Any organization that's out here that's trying to change the criminal justice system is moving towards transformational justice. Whatever I could do, I will do to assist them in trying to get this work done, because it's extremely important that the criminal justice system is dismantled because it's inhuman in its treatment. In addition to that, we are out here now, and it's relatively few of us doing the work that we need a mass movement for. So one of the things that we're doing with this caravan is to travel around the state to inform people of how important it is for the community and specifically the family members of prisoners to get involved with this fight, because we need all of us for us to change the direction that the justice system is taking us, and it's taking us backward from what we was trying to do back in the 70s and early 80s when we was trying to change the prison culture to rehabilitate. Then different politicians came into office and had their own view as to how prisoners should be treated. So now we back at square one. Well, not square one, because we did get some victories over the years, and we're going to continue to get some. Right now, we're waiting for the Supreme Court to finalize their decision about the second-degree felony murder case, in which people are in prison for life who haven't killed anybody. So once that's done, then we have another victory up under our belt as well. We're hoping to have one anyway. Basically, in every prison, maybe 15% of the population might know what's going on the outside in respects to supporting what the issues are in prison. The rest of the population may catch on later sporadically. It won't be, it's not like it was a whole movement like it used to be back in the 70s. In fact, the last movement that I seen throughout the prison system was when Krasner was elected into office. When he was running for office, when he decided to run for office, he came to various prisons, and one of them was Greatest and he got with the Lifers organization, and they basically was asking me, if you want us to support you, then what we need from you is to create a conviction integrity unit where individuals could present evidence that questions the legitimacy of their conviction. And he actually, when he got into office, he actually opened that office up. But the thing is that while he was running, prisoners across the state, in all the state prisons that was for Philadelphia, was telling each other to get on the phone and call your family and make sure they get registered and go down there and vote for Krasner. And that's the power of the people. And that's what it is that we need to replicate, duplicate, and advance. Because without us being active participants in the voting mechanism, in the legislation process, then whatever happens to us is on us if we don't think that it's worth fighting for. Which means that we just have to take some time out to get involved with whatever it is that needs to be done to get the job done. One more thing. While we're trying to build a support network, we're doing it with some of the family members and other people of conscience. What we need is more prisoners' families to get involved. They need to be understood about the voting process and why it's important to put the right people in a position to make the decision that affect our loved ones' lives. And they also need to be taught the lobbying process and how their voice impacts how the legislator moves by going to their office and staying in contact with them so that they don't forget what the issues are and that there are people out here that will vote them out of office if they don't follow what the people are asking them to do.
I'm passionate about ending death by incarceration and bringing people home, because I have met so many lifers that are some of the most talented, loving, caring, thoughtful people that I've ever met in my life. They're extremely talented, self-motivated. They haven't given up hope. And I see the value in bringing them home, one, because I want to see them be able to be with their family and their loved ones in the rehabilitated state that they are now, compared to before they went to prison. And I also see the value in our community for our youth and bringing people home who have been incarcerated. And I also don't believe in such a punitive and punishing society.